Good evening. My name is Ashley Wells, and I'm on the board for the Mack Impact. And tonight we have Courtney, Millie's mom, here to talk to us a little bit about their experience with the Mack Impact. How are you doing tonight, Courtney?
Great, Ashley, thank you.
Good, good. I just wanted you to kind of tell us a little bit about your daughter, Millie. Can you do that for us?
Okay, Millie was 3.5. She'll be 4 next week, November 11th, 2 weeks. And she's the youngest of 9 children.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, house full of fun. We live on a farm, south central Oklahoma. So have 80 acres, about 15 cows, 3 chickens, a boatload of cats, and 1 llama.
Wow, so you keep very busy, it sounds like.
We keep very busy. We homeschool our children. Now, they're not all little children. Some are adults, some are teenagers, and some are little children.
Okay, so what are the age ranges?
30 next week to 4.
Oh, wow.
Way stretched out, almost 6 grandbabies. The 6th one will be born again next week. Everything happens next week.
Oh, wow. Okay, next week's a busy week for you guys.
It is.
Okay, why don't you tell us a little bit about your life kind of pre-diagnosis with Millie?
Millie was a very, very happy baby, obviously well-loved, carried around all the time by all these siblings, probably pretty spoiled. About age 2, which would be January, January 2019, she got very cranky. You cried all the time. You couldn't pacify her. Didn't matter when you picked her up, she just cried. And to the point that our family said, boy, she sure is fussy, Is she becoming spoiled? Is she becoming a brat? And she wasn't. She'd have intermittent fevers. She would wake up just drenched. And it was February by then, and I thought, well, I'm overdressing her, She got on the little footed sleepers, and maybe she's just too hot.
Right.
Restless all night long. Daddy and I moved her out of our bedroom thinking, okay, we got to get some sleep. This girl needs to go somewhere else in the house.
Absolutely.
And kept going to the doctor. Would see, different doctors. She'd say, well, she looks great. She looks like maybe she's coming off of a cold or an ear infection. I don't see anything wrong now. And that went on all the way through our Grand Canyon trip in May of 2019. And the week we were there, I called and said, we have got to be seen. She's ran fever all week. Got back. She was fine again.
Oh, my goodness.
Nothing could be seen at all. We didn't do a blood test that day, but the doctor did say, we'll put one on order. And if you want to do it, you can. And I thought, well, why traumatize her? She seems fine now.
Right.
So we didn't. About 2 weeks later, again, she was crying and saying, my belly hurts. Looked like she was constipated.
Right.
So we took her to urgent care one night.
Kid things that you were thinking.
Absolutely. When urgent care saw her, they said, she sure is distended. They thought maybe she was constipated too. Sent her to the local hospital. Again, yes, she's constipated. We're going to do a blood test. I said, please, just feel of her belly. I found a little lump there today. And he said, I'm not worried about the lump at all, but her liver's distended. So for whatever reason, her liver was enlarged. He said, that can be concerning or it can be nothing. And so he did the blood test. Her liver enzymes were off. He sent us to Children's. When we got to Children's, we saw a liver expert that day who said, she appears fine. Maybe she has some food allergies. We'll send you downstairs and we'll have you do a blood test, which we just done, and we'll have you do an ultrasound. So I opted to wait on the blood test till Daddy got there.
Yes.
And I went to do the ultrasound first, and while we were on the table, you could tell the ultrasound tech's face just really changed. It kept getting more and more serious. We started out the procedure by just talking and visiting, and by the time we were done, she was just very quiet. And I said, if there's something we need to know, please don't let me leave here. We live a long way, and I don't want to have to come back. And
Absolutely.
So she said, please sit out in the waiting room and wait for a doctor. And the doctor came down and said, you're going to go to the 10th floor oncology floor. We think Millie has cancer.
Oh, my gosh.
Crazily enough, I had packed my bags that morning, didn't tell my husband, and I just had in my mind, she has leukemia. I knew nothing about leukemia, so I didn't even know what that was necessarily, just that it was cancer, and I thought that must be what she has. So when we got upstairs and they started talking to us, in years past, we had a friend that's child died from neuroblastoma.
Oh, my gosh.
That one word would have triggered me.
Yeah.
I never heard the doctor say it. I don't know if the Lord just stopped my ears that day, but I never heard him. And I went home that day knowing she had some type of cancer in her liver, but I didn't know what it was. He said, you can admit immediately, or you can come back in 2 days once you get your life in order. And of course, I have all these other children.
Right.
Went home, had to hire a babysitter. Yes, everything you could think of, we had to settle in 2 days' time. Because we homeschool, we had to hire somebody that could come in and school the kids while I was gone. There was just so many loose ends.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we came back on a Sunday morning, and as we came in, we admitted, and they said, we're going to start testing Millie tomorrow morning for neuroblastoma.
Wow.
It just about
That
knocked me
quick?
over.
Uh-huh.
I said, what do you mean? A neuroblastoma? No, you didn't say that. It was like going to be, we had looked up Wilms cancer,
Right.
which has a pretty high success rate, I think 95% success rate.
Mhm.
A lot of the leukemias have a higher success rate. It was going to be one of those. And then when
Right.
you say neuroblastoma, it really lowers your possibility for healing.
Mm-hmm. And did Millie understand anything that was going on during this time?
No, she was so sick. Not only was she sick with the cancer, she also had a horrible, like congestion and all that kind of stuff. All three of us did. So we
Bless
come in
her
there
heart.
just falling apart.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I'm so sorry. So, how long was she in the hospital?
That first time she was in the hospital about 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
They did a liver biopsy, which ended up being a liver bleed, which sent us to the PICU. Then we got that finally stopped. They did her first round of chemo. Her counts were low. She was fevering every day. She stayed until a Friday night, and I want to say that was 10 days maybe. We went home, or Friday morning. We went home Friday morning. By Friday night, we were sitting in the Shawnee emergency room, back for fevers, and then we were
Right.
transported by ambulance right back to the very same room we'd checked out of,
Oh, gosh.
and did another round then. So,
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. So, she spent lots of times there in the hospital.
she did. That started a year-long treatment process. She did, I think, 6 rounds of frontline chemo, which
Okay.
if you're going to respond, you should respond to your frontline chemo.
Right.
She did not.
She didn't.
She
Okay.
responded enough that she looked better.
Right.
She acted better, but her
Mhm.
tumors would never really shrink much.
Okay.
Her body started working a little better and gave us some hope. She was supposed to have surgery next, and then a stem cell transplant, and then a second stem cell transplant. She never could get the surgery because the tumors never shrank enough that if they could have
Gotcha.
fixed her liver tumors,
Mm-hmm.
they could have gone on and done something else.
Okay. So, she just couldn't. So, did she get well enough to where she could at least go home at all? Or were y'all just
Yes.
at the, okay.
No, gratefully she would go home. We would admit about every 3 weeks. With
Okay.
neuroblastoma, you always treat inpatient, at least in our experience.
Yes. Okay.
And so you were there 4 or 5 days each time.
Mm-hmm.
Then you'd go home and battle fevers and come back and forth a few times. And we
Right.
did that kind of stuff. And then we did that all the way through November. She
Uh-huh.
started a research study and started immunotherapy, hoping that that would knock it down enough that we could eventually have the surgery and the stem cell. And again, it did not.
Oh, my goodness. And so, whenever she was home, what did you guys focus on whenever she was home? Just being together as a family, or what were some of the things that you would try to do?
The minute she got out of the car, she could barely walk, and she would say, "Take me to my swing."
Oh,
She would get in that swing and just be so happy to be
Yeah.
home.
that was her
She would-
place.
absolutely. She would be in the tractor with her dad. She would be outside, playing in the yard with the kids. Make-A-Wish gave us a playground.
Oh, wow.
So
Wonderful.
she was out on the playground in her
Mhm.
pajamas and her rubber boots.
But
Typical
that's
farm
okay.
girl.
Yeah, absolutely. So, how did you hear about the Mack impact?
Nikki contacted me probably through Facebook. I do a daily page update on
Yes,
Millie. Even
I
today,
follow
still
it.
do. You?
Yes.
Okay. Well, so I still write, but now it's on grief versus
Absolutely.
Millie's progress. But Nikki contacted me through that page and just said we offer experiences. And we hadn't with Make-A-Wish. We did a playground, so we didn't go anywhere.
Right.
And so when Nikki contacted me, it was a thought of, do we want to go somewhere? Is she well enough to go somewhere? And she wasn't necessarily. We could never have gone out of state for sure.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And we debated and thought, well, we really don't know what to tell Nikki she wants. For a while, Millie loves to ride our big 4-wheeler.
Yes.
And so we thought, well, maybe a baby 4-wheeler, maybe something small she could ride on the farm.
Uh-huh.
But when it came down to May, when Nikki and I started talking seriously about it, it was very evident Millie wasn't going to live.
Oh.
And so on one of our last trips to the hospital, we drove through over the South Canadian Bridge. And when we
Okay.
did, Millie said, "Oh, water, we go fishing again." She would leave certain words out. So cute. We go.
Yes.
Yes. And Dad said, "You like to fish?" "Yes, love to fish." Never caught anything, but she loved to fish.
I mean, that's okay.
Yes. So we said we might go fishing again. We'll see. And then that was just the idea of that's what we need to tell Nikki that she would love to do.
Right. Okay. So then, whenever you had the day of the experience, so tell me what all that you did.
Okay. Well, before we had the experience, we had Millie tell Nikki by video what she wanted.
Oh,
And
so
she wanted
sweet.
to go on a boat, and she wanted to catch 3 fish.
Oh, 3.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then she just laugh, and she said,
I mean, how could we deny her that? So
That's
cute.
right. She can't count, but she knew how many fish she wanted to catch.
That's okay.
So the day of the experience, right before then, we were supposed to go to Texas and receive some more treatment. That was kind of her last hope. They called on a Friday and said she can't go.
Right.
It's not going to work. They gave us one last round of chemo that did nothing besides knock the hair off her head again.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And she came home. And so the day of the experience was my husband's birthday. We got up. She was pretty ill. Got about halfway to the lake, and she was throwing up already.
Yes.
Which was typical of cancer kids, you know.
Yes.
Thankfully, Millie didn't throw up much, so that was kind of a surprise for her. But her tumor growth was so rapid at that point, it was pressing on things and just really making her ill.
Right.
We drove to Eufaula. As we got off the highway, there was fire trucks waiting for us and flashing their
so
lights, which we
awesome.
didn't expect. And so we followed the fire department.
Yes.
And then as we pulled up to the lake, there were just people everywhere and in the water, boats everywhere. Everybody was tooting their horns, you know, yelling. Of course, my 3-year-old's climbing behind me, so embarrassed now. She's
Right.
not, but after she let me hold her and she kind of looked around, they had a lemur. So
Oh,
that was exciting for
nice.
the other kids, especially my nerdy science kids.
Yes.
They got to go and see that. And I think there was 5 boats with 6 professional fishermen on them. And these guys were just outfitted with everything we needed to get on the boats.
Wow.
Because our family's so large, we had
Right.
to divide up. So my husband and I and Millie got on one boat with John. And what was really neat about John, he shared later on that his sister had passed away of cancer when he was a child. And so it was
this
near
was
to his
special
heart.
for him too.
Yes, it was.
Absolutely. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. So you all got to go and experience this together.
We
So
did.
what did that mean to you as a mom of all of these kids?
It helps you know that people understand that cancer is not just the child. Cancer
Mhm.
hits the whole family.
Right.
You know, my other children lost their parents who walked out for a year.
Yeah.
They had to be schooled by somebody else. They had to have babysitters stay all night. There was never any consistency. It was very hard on them. So to be included in the experience and not always be Millie's the favored one. Millie gets all the
Right.
gifts. Millie gets all the attention. That was a great blessing
Mhm.
too. And then also just to be able to walk out and not have to think about it for one day.
Yeah,
That's a
absolutely.
blessing.
I'm so glad that you guys got to do that. So is this something you would definitely recommend to other families?
I would. I've recommended a few already. I think some of the ones you're working on now are
Yes.
sweet friends of ours that we're excited to see what they're going to do. But I think definitely recommend it because of the care put into the whole family.
Yeah.
You know, we went and had pizza after the experience. The Firehouse Pizza place had us in.
That's so awesome.
Millie didn't care much about the pizza just because she wasn't eating at that point.
Right.
But all the other kids loved pizza.
Yeah.
So again, that
So they were super excited.
they were. They were. I think we cleaned them out.
Well, good. Well, good. Well, thank you so much for sharing Millie's story with us, and I
Yes.
appreciate it. And I'm glad that you're able to honor her. Is there anything else that you'd like to tell us about her, the Mack Impact, or anything like that?
Well, I did write something just that I did want to say. Thank you, Mack Impact, for honoring Millie and allowing us to make memories with her. At the very end, when she's so sick, and how are you going to make those memories? That was important. That was one of the last days Millie was up and out of the house.
Well,
That
I'm
was a
so
blessing to
glad.
us.
I'm so glad
Yeah.
that you guys got that special time, and thank you so much again for sharing this information with us tonight.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thanks.